Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise, and we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello and welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast, a podcast where you get inspired, you get energized, and you receive life-changing business and life information. And I have a very exciting guest for you. I have Miss Salipila, a good friend of mine, a co-investor in Tsela, somebody that I've known for many, many years. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, Mogobe.
Okay, we're going to talk about repositioning oneself. And I think it's a very exciting subject. But before we do, be kind enough just to share your background, who you are, just a condensed CV, if you like.
Thank you very much. My name is Salipila from Tonota and Kanye. I'm an entrepreneur. I deal with issues of wellness, personal wellness, being able to advise people on diet-related issues, how they can help their body to heal itself, and also on corporate wellness, getting into a corporate and help them deal with wellness policies and also do wellness days and help them, the company, to come up with wellness policies and see how they can be able to do the wellness of the corporate. So we have found that because wellness is broad, we also do team building, personal transformation, an entire workshop facilitation. But apart from that, through COVID, I have tended to be a farmer, and I actually very much enjoy it.
Okay. How long have you been in the wellness industry? We're going to talk about the farming briefly, but how long have you been in the wellness industry? And tell us about your company.
22 years to be, I was actually calculating yesterday, since 1999. So throughout these years, we have had a number of clients from the government to different private companies. So it is a nature care wellness center. So we have been in the business for that long. We have had its own ups and downs, as it always happens in business. But yes, we have been there for 21 years.
One of the things you do, and I've been your customer, is cleansing and so on.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit on that?
Yes. As we know, the body is supposed to excrete or to eliminate toxins. But because sometimes we eat food that we are not supposed to eat, sometimes we have stress and fatigue. When you are stressed, your body is unable to digest, and therefore constipation happens. And because the colon is dark, it's warm, and it's wet, it becomes a breeding place for bacteria. So we help people to detoxify the body, to get rid of toxins in the body, so that their energy levels can be high, the body odor can be reduced, and also bad breath. The skin is an organ of elimination, so sometimes people are unable to when they perspire, they have this strong body odor that can be, foul, really. So we help to get rid of those toxins.
And what is the process of detoxification? And is it something that you'd recommend for entrepreneurs who watch this show?
Yes, definitely. Because, like I say, I want to believe every entrepreneur, there are times when you are stressed, you are always on your toes. So it's important because it reduces the stress level. And you are given some herbal remedies to take, and you do it through the process of enema.
What is that?
The enema is where a pipe is put in, through the rectum, and the water goes in through to the body, and then about a liter at a time is taken in through the body. And then when you feel full, you immediately relax, let it go, and the process keeps on changing. Water comes in, goes, just like that. Yes.
Today we're going to talk about repositioning oneself. First, explain the topic and explain its importance.
Reposition oneself, it is a way of encouraging one to take a journey inside themselves. To say, in life, are you happy with where you are? What are the things that you have done? What are the things that you did not do? Can you learn from your mistakes? What is it that you can do to improve your life? You'll find that life is a process, it's a journey. And there are times when we should not shy away from taking stock of oneself and say, where did I go wrong? And learn from those mistakes so that you don't repeat them. And in the process, you feel fulfilled. It is what Steve Covey calls sharpening the saw, so that you are able to, yes.
Or the saw, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So you are able to be rejuvenated, mentally, psychologically, spiritually, and otherwise.
Okay. Before I go to the specifics, I've heard people say that health is your wealth. What is your take on that?
It is very true, because when you are unhealthy, and unhealthy, we don't refer only to the physical. It can be mental, it can be psychological. When you are not in sync with yourself, you are unable to flow. Your mind you are not in touch with who you are. So first and foremost, for you to have enriching thoughts, for you to be able to work at your optimum, you should be able, everything about you has to be at ease. Because when you look at the word disease or disease, and you break it into two, it is spelled disease. It means within yourself, things are no longer at ease. So when you are like that, you are unable, to think well, you are unable to sleep well, you are unable, you cannot be able to be yourself. And when you are not yourself, your world doesn't go the way you want.
Yeah. But in our society, there's a tendency to think that health can be obtained through pills, through prescriptions. I know that you are active in the alternative health space somewhat. Can you speak to that a little bit in general terms?
Yes, there's also a saying that like you are what you eat. There are people who say the disease begins at your dinner table. What you take can make you either to be well or unwell. And people who believe that you can buy health the
Right,
chemist or whatever. I think they need to be educated that you can delay your progression of disease by taking care of what you eat, by taking care of the quality of your thoughts, the ways that you speak, how you interact with people. These are small things that make you who you are. And when we say who you are, we mean in total, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, and otherwise.
So how many then pillars of health are there beyond the physical?
Well, there is the physical, there is the mental, there is the emotional, which sometimes can be intertwined with the mental, and also spiritual, the mind, body, and soul. So I know in the biblical terms, they dissect spiritual and the spirit and soul, but in wellness they are taken as one dimension. So, and you'll find that these four seemingly different entities, if they are not in balance, one cannot attain total wellness. So everything, and they relate to one another. And there is a saying that when your mind speaks, the body listens.
Wow. Just before we now get into the nitty-gritties, what is your training? Is there any formal training that you underwent to acquire such a high level of proficiency on these matters?
Yes, I'm a qualified nutritional therapist, and I did a number of courses in total wellness. I remember there was a time I spent some months in Puerto Rico at Enwigmore Natural Health Institute.
Wow.
Where I learned how the body relates to nature. We would wake up in the morning, do yoga along the ocean, and we would be taught how to meditate and just talk to yourself, talk to the universe, talk to God, depending on what you believe in, and be able to open yourself for inner knowing so that you can have a conversation with yourself, so that you can allow your body to heal yourself.
So was it a course? How long did it take?
It took 6 months.
Okay,
Yes.
6 months in Puerto Rico. And then what are the other courses that
And
you
then
attend?
the other courses, it was in South Africa where I learned, where I was doing counseling. So it's Louise Hay Institute in
Wow.
Cape Town.
That's an American lady. Louise
Yes,
Hay,
yes,
She's
yes.
written so many books.
So many books, yes. She passed on at the age of 90. She has so much wealth of experience, where she's able to connect the quality of your thoughts and the outcomes, especially what the disease that you might be having. For example, she believes that people who have problems with their shoulders, it is because they absorb other people's miseries and they don't have anywhere to exhale, that burden that you are holding.
So the course that you did was how long and what did it entail? The Louis Hayes one.
It was 2 years, but with different parts. It was online, and I would go there to, for the practicals, and so it was mainly counseling course, and my strength was healing the inner child, because I believed that most of our challenges, real or imagined, sometimes emanate from when we are small. And if you do not heal from past painful experiences, sometimes you grow up to be a bitter person. And it's something that I think that I practice all the time. Hence, I believe I'm a very excellent counselor.
Yeah. Well, still on that thing, the idea of the inner child, or the girl child, the boy child, there's a school of thought that in our society, the girl child is advantaged over the boy child. And there's still another school of thought that thinks it's the other way around. What is your view in terms of the way we culturally condition our children? Is there a sense in which we advantage one set, one gender over another?
I believe that culturally, the boy child is privileged, because when you have children, you focus at one, teaching them, roles that are gender-based. But I believe now the society is focusing more on educating the girl child. But my belief is that everybody needs education. If you focus at one gender and leave in the other, remember they are going to coexist. And it proves to be fruitless for somebody to be advanced over the other one, because you need them to know how to engage one another. You need them to know how to coexist, and also how they can best look after their children once they are parents.
Okay. In your workshops, do you help parents in any of that, the challenges associated in bringing up children, or setting up some kind of, not even a curriculum, to set a working frame for parents to deal with kids and bringing them up, or you don't go that far?
Well, not in we just do workshops sometimes on parenting, but you'll find that a parent will bring their child to you and say, this boy or this girl has a problem, pen, I'll beat them. And when you sit down, listen to what they're saying, you actually find that it is parents who need penal beating.
Who have a problem.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And yes, we help them, because parenting is something that is very challenging. There hasn't been school for parenting, it's trial and error.
You don't even have a manual.
Yes,
for bringing
exactly.
up these children. Yeah.
So we do make mistakes, and we should not shy away from saying, I made a mistake, and listen when you are advised.
Now we are done with the introduction. Let's go to the subject of the day. First question, where are you in life? I suppose this is a question you put to an entrepreneur. This is a question you want to put to the viewer, and just break that down for us and help us understand why it's an important question.
Yes, like we were saying, it is a good thing to introspect in life, because you are able to say, am I happy with where I am? Is there anything that I could have done better? What is it that I need to move from one position to the other? And of course, when we talk about moving positions, we mean improving yourself where you want to be. So yes, it is something that is encouraging.
Is it like an audit?
It's like an audit, SWOT analysis, because you are taking a journey inside yourself and say, what is it that I need to do so that in a year's time I should be at the next level?
Does the audit include you categorizing where am I personally in terms of my health, where am I exercise regime, where am I financially, and so on? Do you need to actually go through the whole spectrum of all those things? How does it work practically?
Yes, I believe it makes sense to take you as an entire human being, because like we were saying, it is pointless to have lots of money but with very bad health. So for you to live a whole life
holistically,
yes, holistically, it's better to take charge of all these entities that make
and you, what do you do? Imagine if you were taking me through the process as a client, what would I have to do? Do I just sit down with you and you ask me questions? What is your bank balance? What's your balance sheet? That kind of thing. How healthy? How many times you go to the gym? I'm just curious as to how it actually works to answer this question. Where are you in life?
Yes, because it depends on why a person has come to see you. Because one would come to see you not necessarily for their bank balance. And maybe to say in terms of financial literacy, I don't think I'm very strong in that. I also go for counseling myself regarding, the same. But in terms of other spheres, yes, one would say I have an issue related, mainly it would be psychological. So you find, their lifestyle, and you take a lifestyle audit where you look at that typical, whether they have time to relax, whether they have time to be with family, whether they have time, because there are people who believe that for you to be successful, you need to be a workaholic. And yet, you can imagine when you knock off at work, having made millions, and you find a cold home, your life isn't fulfilled. So you look at the lifestyle in totality.
Okay.
Yes.
And normally, typically, how long does it take to answer this question? Is it a series of meetings or seminars? How to actually a person to be satisfied that I really know where you are now? Let's move on.
Well, it differs really, because with some people you'll find that they grasp much more quickly, and an hour and a half is sufficient to give them points to move on. But others, yes, they would need to be having follow-ups that can even take up to 5 sessions.
I see.
Yes.
Has COVID-19 pandemic changed your thinking and your outlook? And if so, how?
I think that's a very interesting question, because it teaches us how to view something that everybody believes it's wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So what are the things that you can say COVID-19 has taught you? And it was very interesting, because during lockdown you'd find people saying, look at the scones that I have baked, look at what I have done. It's sort
Look
of...
at the book I've written.
Exactly. So, like right now, I developed love into farming. The passion that I didn't believe I had. So...
What, crop farming or animal farming?
Both. Both. I did not have time for that as much as I wanted to venture into it. So COVID-19 has taught me to diversify, because the things that I've been doing, I had to change, realign myself. And I think everybody, if you were to say, what are the positives that came out of COVID-19, we can all list them. But like I'm saying, it takes a positive mindset to be able to turn lemon into lemonades. Yes, COVID-19 is a pandemic, but there's so much that we can say, this is what I have done. It has helped me to realign myself, my way of thinking.
Share a little bit about the farm. What's involved there? How big is it? How many cattle? What's going on?
I have nature care gardens that is coming up along Buka. What happened was I invested into this land some times back, and I found that there is a piece of land about, the total acres is 17.2. So there's about...
Hectares or acres?
Hectares.
Okay.
There's about 4 hectares that is very rocky. So I looked at it and said, what is it that I can do out of this piece of land? And I designed an outdoor event place.
Wow.
Because I facilitate workshops. Typically, when I facilitate workshop on emotional healing, stress management, I prefer nature. We sit on the grass, on the stone, and actually take a journey inside ourselves so that we can ride and really heal emotionally. So I don't do my workshops in a conference setting. No, it has to be where you can listen to the birds sing, you can see the butterfly. That's best when you are
commune
able to
with nature. Yes,
to get in touch with who you are. So there is that which is coming up, and then there is a part on the fertile side where I've demarcated a piece of land where I'm coming up with horticulture. Actually, tomorrow I'll be going to harvest beautiful broccoli and cauliflower.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And supplying them to the chain stores. So it is an aspect that
Are you not better off supplying directly to the public? The chain store apparently just dictate their prices.
They do, but the advantage is that when you have about 2,000 heads of something, you want somebody who can take them in, instantly, before it perishes.
And
yes,
it's a challenge also to
so I do have goals as well.
Wow.
I'm getting into breeding a certain buo goat. I have been having Tswana goats. Now I want to go on it professionally. Yes.
Entrepreneurially, how does it help the entrepreneurial side for you to be venturing into nature like that? In other words, how congruent is it? Does it support your entrepreneurial venture on the nature care side?
It does, because by the time we'd be able to run workshops, we are going to have health refreshments. If we do like lunch for people who are coming to the workshop, we are going to provide them with vegetables from the backyard, from the farm. We are going to be providing, if we have to do a braai, for somebody who is there, we'll be just be slaughtering a goat from within the farm. So yes, it helps, and I see as one day even hosting agricultural shows to show people how to do beekeeping, mushrooms and other agricultural related things. So yes, it's really complementing it in a beautiful way.
Wow. Comfort zone. I want us to talk about the comfort zone. People talk about it. Everybody says you have to get out of the comfort zone. But I think let's break it down into two parts. What, in your view, is a comfort zone for the average entrepreneur, for the average person who might be watching? And how do you break out of the comfort zone, and why?
I believe routine creates complacency. When you do everything the same way over and over again, you tend not to look outside the box. So sometimes you don't even know that you are doing that unless a situation or a predicament comes and puts you in a corner. So you need to be very agile so that you are able to see how you can best get out of that comfort zone. So when you are under stress, that's when your body secretes a lot of adrenaline. So adrenaline makes you to have the get up and go. Adrenaline makes you either to run or to fight. But in the entrepreneurial field, you look at ways in which you can adapt to new things, ways in which you can diversify and see how you can best complement what you have been doing. So I believe thinking outside the box.
So are you saying you cannot be successful as an entrepreneur without getting out of your comfort zone?
Well, you can, but you should be able, you would be thinking outside the box. So in other words, you would be an entrepreneur that is not agitated by change. So you might not be necessarily in a tight corner, but you can be able to say, how can I incorporate this in my businesses? And you'd go with the flow. But there are people who are scared of change, and those are the people who need, a situation that is a bit uncomfortable.
So what do you actually need to do specifically for one to get out of one's comfort zone? What do you physically have to do?
I like we were saying, you need to take stock of yourself. And if things are not going well, you say, what is it that I have done wrong? If everything is going well and you have a SWOT analysis, where is it that you want to go? So you keep on expanding and diversifying until you reach where you want to be. And like in business, there can never be any destination. But having regular meetings, having what is the word that organization strategic plans.
Strategic retreat or strategic plans.
Exactly. So you are able to look at where you have been, what is it that you need to do so that you are comfortable.
Okay. If we need to do strategic planning to get out of our comfort zones, and COVID rules say we can't conference, we can't do anything like that, what do we do in the meantime? What would people in the organization do in the meantime until the rules are relaxed?
These days, the world has gone virtual. There are virtual workshops that are done where people, you have discussion just like we are having discussion, especially because in organization, it would be more than 10 people. So it can be risky sometimes to have person-to-person interaction. So I believe virtual and correspondence are the way to go.
Are you actually doing that in your organization?
We haven't started doing that as yet. Yes.
But you are setting up to do that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask you an unfair question, which is this: is life fair? Because I think that question itself is unfair.
Yes. It depends where one looks at. Because when you think of where one is coming from, we are not coming from the same, having the same start. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting to find people who come from humble beginnings, but who have conquered the odds. I used to like it when I was listening
I think you and I fall into that category.
Yes. And
you used to like?
I used to like listening to people when they were interviewed, and somebody would say, my mother was a domestic worker, my father was a gardener, these are people who really came from humble beginnings. But right now we learn about them. They've
reached the greatest heights.
Exactly in life. So as much as one may say life is not fair, poverty is not hereditary. You can actually turn your life around because the way you looked at life, you said, I am not going to live the way I was brought up. this is how far I went in life, but my children are not going to grow the same way I have grown. So we should not make excuses to say I had a difficult childhood. Yes, it can play a role, but it's important for you to turn your life around. And this is where we can come in to say, are you a wounded person? Because once you are wounded and you have not healed, it would be difficult sometimes to see clearer and have a better vision. So that's why, psychological counseling is very important, because it helps you look at life from a different perspective.
And when you say wounded person, that triggers a thought in my head that people who are wounded think life is unfair. What is your answer to the essential question? Is life fair or unfair for such people?
Yes, life can be unfair, but that should not determine, your growth or your success. Exactly like we were saying, you can turn your life around, and you actually feel proud of yourself to say, despite the challenges, I can still count my blessings.
And for entrepreneurs and the ones that you've interacted with, Botswana entrepreneurs, there's always a complaint that we're not used to business, we're first generation businessmen, that's why we're having problems. And then on top of that, corruption in government and so on and so forth. Those are the typical complaints. From that point of view, is life fair? I keep getting back to that question.
It's not fair. And when you talk about it was corruption and what? Or the first generation,
yeah.
Yes. But if you were able to be knowledgeable in entrepreneurship, why can't I be at the same level where you have been? So the material that you read are available also for me to make use of. And I think it's a question of saying, there's this thing, are we,
entitlement mentality.
Yes, exactly. What is it that you'd want either the government to do so that you can go to the next level? So if other people managed
to reach those levels,
to reach the levels, why can't I? And this is why we are saying it depends on how you look at the whole picture.
Yeah. No, on this question of fairness, we can talk the whole day, but I mean,
it's
I
relative.
often say to youngsters that I mentor that fairness is not guaranteed even in the Bible.
Yes.
In fact, we are told that the righteous are going to have it rough. So,
exactly.
So there's no fairness anyway that is guaranteed. Are you not your own biggest enemy? That's a tough question, isn't it? Are you not your own biggest enemy?
Sometimes in life it is said that human beings we are conditioned to think like, the
Pavlov reaction.
Yes, mentality.
Yes.
Where if you have been put in a 6x6 glass room, once you knock, you find that there is a glass door. You'll always be there for the rest of your life because you don't want to break through. You create ceilings believing that you can't go, beyond a particular ceiling. And what is it that you need in life for you to go outside this imaginary ceiling? So you'll find that, yes, one can say, I had it rough in life. But what is it that you are doing to enrich yourself, to go beyond the limits. And you'll find that, like we were saying, a lot of people have turned their lives around. It's a question of believing in the power within you to say, I have all it takes to take my life forward. When we are children, you know, a child believes in anything. A child is not shy.
Limitless.
Yes. If you can take all the nationalities, children from every nationality, put them here, you'll find that they interact even though they can't understand themselves. But with us, because we have limiting beliefs about ourselves, about our potential, about our color, about our sex, we sometimes hold on to our horses because we believe we are not capable. And that is being your biggest enemy, because it is you who does not believe in the self. And if I don't believe in myself, who is going to believe in me?
That's so profound. I don't know which sociologist or psychologist said, I've met the enemy and the enemy is us. And you know, with an exclamation mark, like a sudden epiphany. I've been investigating who the enemy is, and I've now met the enemy. It's us.
I've actually heard of a workshop where somebody was saying, today we are going to kill. No, the enemy is dead. We are going to bury them. And he took a coffin with a mirror and said, come and see the enemy. So everybody, when they came in, they looked into that coffin, a reflection of their face, they would see it there. And after that, they actually performed a funeral to say, we are burying the enemy.
That's profound.
Yes.
That's profound. What do you do in your workshops to help the whoever comes, to help the people realize that they are their own biggest enemy? They actually, we would have points for them to go. Each person would sit on their own with a journal. And they write everything that they are not happy with themselves. They write everything that they want to achieve in life. And you actually become honest to yourself and write everything that you would want to change. And after that, we do an exercise where you actually put that in flames. You burn it.
Yes. And as you burn it, you say to yourself internally that the new you is coming out. You are opening, you know, that limitless person inside you, so that you can reach the highest.
We are entrepreneurs, so we're very practical. So I'm going to ask you a tough question. Without mentioning names, can you mention a handful, a few success stories or testimonies that you can share? People who underwent this process and really banished the enemy and changed throughout the years that you've been doing this.
Yes, I actually have a number of you know, people. And when I'm on radio, I will find people calling or even sending me SMSs and say, you have really helped me, you know, in such and such a place. I remember one time I was doing workshops for a certain organization, and I had to move from Lobatse, Gaborone, Mahalape. And I remember when I got to Mahalape and it was discussion time, and there's one lady that I did not know, and she said, Mapila, I want to thank you because there was a time you helped me. Even at Maung, there was a time.
How did you help her?
She came for counseling, and we actually had sessions together. And she said, you know, the exercises that we did, you know, liberated her. So I do meet a number of people.
You're
and
about
I'm
to
sure,
tell us about Maung.
Yes, there was a lady also. I remember when Air Botswana landed in Maung, Riley's was closing for lunch. So when I got to the restaurant, I found that they had closed for lunch. And one lady just came to me and said, "Are you Mapila?" I said, "Yes." And she said, "Have a seat." She actually went and organized her salad and fish for me. Then she sat down and you said, "Do you remember me?" I looked at her, I don't. And she told me, you know, there was a time she came in when she was almost at the brink of collapsing. So we had a chat, and you know, this makes me very proud of myself, because there are a number of people. Even right now, I'm sure those who are watching, they would remember how their lives have been turned around by the sessions that we have had. Yes, there is a handful of people that...
It's more than a handful, eh?
Yes,
over the years.
yes.
Now, you've been active on radio. Share a little bit about that, because I've also heard you on radio in terms of your transformation efforts and in terms of helping the public, because that is selflessness, that is sacrificial.
Yes,
but it has huge benefits also for your business.
Yes, yes. There is a program called Mokotazi on Radio Botswana.
You encourage her.
Yes, I have been doing it since 2005. You can calculate how many years it is.
16.
Is it
16 years?
Is it 16 years?
I've just done the maths, and my daughter was born in 2005. She's 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. It is something that we do as Tirelos Chaba. It is free of charge. But yes, it's helping one, because for you to be on radio and talk about a particular subject, you need to be knowledgeable. So it helps me to read, it helps me to research, it helps me to be knowledgeable. So I'm thankful to, you know, to the program.
And the good thing about radio is that it's countrywide.
Yes, yes.
And everybody listens to radio.
Yes,
so
and I remember there was a time, you know, I went to Khansi or Rapa, and immediately when you say your name, you know, people resonate with. And sometimes I had gone to Bambo to buy some agricultural things.
Agricultural Marketing Board.
Yes. Yeah. I asked for something to the gentleman who was over the counter, and immediately he looked at me without even blinking. And I looked back, I didn't know if I had said something wrong. He said, "I remember this voice from somewhere." And I laughed, and he said, "Are you Mapila?" I said, "Yes." So yes, definitely.
So with that being said, talk to the entrepreneurs, and how important is it for you to be sacrificial, to give of yourself without an expectation of immediate return, to offer the service before you can get a reward? Using your life as an example, how important is that?
You know, I believe it is a spiritual enhancement, because what spirituality teaches me is that you should do something. It's the goodness that is inside you. You do something to other people, not to get anything in return. And when your heart and your mind is open to give to other people, that's when the flow comes back to you. It's like karma. It comes back to you more than twofold. So you actually open avenues for you because of what you have done to the society. People. Yes.
Let me ask you another tough question. Have your life experiences left you bitter or better? That's another one for us to dissect. Let's deal with that one.
It's very interesting, because when you look at our life experiences, you know, we are a reflection of past experiences, and some of the experiences are very painful. and a question of healing. I always say in wellness workshops, for me, one of the fundamental things in life is healing from painful experiences. Because if you have not healed, you are going to be a bitter person. And when you are bitter, you are actually rubbing people the wrong way. We have energy around us, and the energy that we have can be positive or negative, depending on the thoughts that you have as a human being. So once you have healed, or once you are able to look at life from a positive perspective, you are able, when life gives you lemon, you turn them into lemonade. So it is also something that I believe needs spiritual enhancement. To say when something bad happens to you is because Modimo ga go lebala. You know, life is like that. It is never a bed of roses. There are people who have had it tough, but who tell their lives around. Look at, we always talk about the life of Nelson Mandela. He's one person who could have been bitter in life, and many other philosophers that we read about. Viktor Frankl, the gentleman who was persecuted by the Nazis.
In Auschwitz, in one of the vicious camps there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is having a conversation with yourself and say, despite what I have gone through.
Because he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning.
Man's Search for Meaning.
It is a classic. I've read it recently. It's a wonderful book.
I have it as well, yes.
Yeah. Now here's the question. Botswana feature very prominently in the happiness, or shall I say the unhappiness index, because we are said to be among the most unhappy nation in the world. I don't necessarily agree with that, but it's there, it's in the happiness index. So do you say that the majority of us, our life experiences have made us bitter or better in that context?
I don't know what is it that they were looking at, but yes, I think again I have seen that you'd have some people who would even rejoice over the downfall of other people. I don't know whether it's because we are a small nation, we know each other, and therefore if you come up with a beautiful 10-story building, instead of being happy for you, I look at myself and say, you know, there's an element of competition instead of looking at your life and say, how can I become better than yesteryear? Instead of saying, how can I become better than, you know, Mr. Mogobe? So I believe coming from a small nation also plays a part. But again, when you look at it positively, you can say, because we know each other, we can offer a hand, you know, to guide the next person. Because when you are successful, looking at abundance mentality, we can all be successful. So the question of us not being happy, I don't know where it comes from, but yes.
From the index. I don't know what it's called.
Yes, I've heard that.
No, I see it in the newspapers, but it's not necessarily my experience. I do know that there are reasons to be unhappy here and there, but I don't know whether we can condemn a whole nation.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, I'm saying this because a friend of mine once went to the States, and he complained that when he raises his voice, the neighbor calls, you know, police. Is there something wrong with you? Is there somebody's too happy or too noisy? And those people are supposed to be happier than us. And we are very casual. We laugh at that. And so I have a problem accepting that we are the unhappiest. Although I accept that there are reasons for us to be unhappy.
To be exactly.
Especially with the growth of corruption in the community and so on. So what is your final take on this issue? Bitter or better as a nation? Are we?
I think, I don't want to put a blanket statement, but yes, there are a number of people who are very bitter. But again, if you are a better person, you tend to associate with other better persons. And therefore you will believe that the graph or the ratio is that more people are better than bitter because you want to rub shoulders with the people that you want to emulate.
Yeah.
Yes.
In terms of your training and workshops and what you do, how do you go about turning somebody from being bitter to better? Is there a process involved?
Yes. It's a counseling process where people become honest with their feelings.
Like you explained earlier.
Yes. But when you are a professional, you engage somebody and you can tell from the energy that they have. You can tell from the questions that you ask leading questions to know the kind of background that somebody has done. I remember earlier we were talking about Louise Hay, you know, her connection with disease and the quality of thoughts. I remember there was a time somebody came to me with a problem of breast cancer. And Louise Hay believes that if you have breast cancer, it is somebody who have had a lot of emotional turmoil, you know, around the breast area. And therefore, because pain did not come out of their system, it ate them from within.
Okay.
So when we were talking about her condition, and she told me that she has had removal of breast mastectomy and she was going for another one, I called her over to the office and said, let's have a chat. Tell me the kind of childhood that you have had. And I remember and when we sat down and talked, she had had a very painful childhood and she was still healing. So it's important for, you know, for us to know the kind of lives we have had and to see if we need to heal. So talking and asking relevant questions can help you, and sometimes even sharing my own life experiences, because I haven't had a bed of roses, you know, myself. And actually it was through my own journey of healing that I loved what I was going through, and I wanted to be able to heal other people who have had different painful experiences in life.
Is there any aspect of that journey of yours that you want to share? At least the dramatic portion of it, where there was that dramatic healing or that change, whether you went from bitter to better, but certainly from being diseased to being healthy.
You know, when I grew up, at the age of 5 years, my parents went through divorce. And after that, my mother went back to her maternal family, and she developed a condition called schizophrenia, which is a mental condition. So I found myself being a parent to my mother at the age of 12. And as I was growing up, you know, you can imagine, I remember one time I was in England and I received a letter from my grandparents saying that your mother has been...
You were staying with who in England?
I was a student.
Oh, yeah.
I was at tertiary, yes.
Okay.
So I remember after reading my grandfather's letter, that my mother was institutionalized at Lobatse Mental Hospital. Yeah. And after that, my whole world, you know, fell apart. And it was very painful growing up, seeing, you know, the pain of a mental
I've known you all my life, but I didn't know anything about
Oh, yes.
Okay. So how did you deal with it?
So I actually went for counseling myself. That's where I started this journey. But when I came back, it was when I came back, you know, because she lived for, I think she passed on when about 25 years ago. So throughout this time, like I say, I've been nurturing her, helping her to get back her dignity. So when your mother
So you took her out of the hospital to stay with her? Or you were taking care of her while she was still in Sabrana?
No, she was staying with my grandparents
At that time,
So I was, because I was taking care of them, they were all being taken care by me, and I would, you know, I frequently would take her to be with me. Like when she passed on, she was staying with me after the demise of both of my grandparents. So yes, I looked after my mother for a very long time and helping her to transition from that, you know, dreaded diseases. But you know, pain, emotional pain is something that you can't say you lull the pain forever. When one gets anxious, it triggers the emotions. When one gets is hurt emotionally, it triggers the pain. So it was an on and off kind of management. But I think I helped her a great deal.
Wow.
So in the process, I also had to heal myself, because you can never see your mother suffering without you suffering in the process.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, back to the topic of the day. When is your time to reposition yourself through all this?
I believe now is the time. There can never be, if you did not do it yesterday, you have to do it now. Because like we were saying, we now live in a time where COVID-19 has done its own damage.
It's continuing to do that.
Yes. So how can you then change the way you think? How can you change the way you do business? How can you change the way you do everything? So we were talking about now everything going virtual. Everything is now a new normal. So first you need to heal. Secondly, you need to recharge your energy so that you can become a positive person. And with the energy, it's very important, because when you have a negative energy, you are going to attract, you know, negative vibes towards you. We always hear that as human beings, we are a vibration, which is why even Rastas talk about somebody having a positive vibration or somebody having a negative vibration.
Or they just say the vibe, but this guy's vibe is negative.
Exactly. So it's upon oneself to change, you know, positively, so that this same energy that you have, you know, you coat it with positivity. And you need, I think you will agree with me that the same energy that is connecting you is the same energy that is connecting the sun, the moon, and the stars. Yes.
So I've asked you when, then the next question is how long would it take on average for someone to really, with professional help, reposition themselves? How long would the process take on average?
I believe reposition yourself, like we always say, one can say it's an ongoing thing. Even when you believe you have it all, there are times when you need to sharpen the sword. It's like if you are a spiritual being, you know, whether you go to a church, you can say, I have now reached the destination, I won't go to church. You need to do it. You know,
it's a continuum process.
It's a continuum process.
Okay.
So you do it now, you do with the professionals, you will feel when you have taken charge of yourself. Even the person who is helping you can see that you have now seen the direction, and yours is just mentorship.
So there's no one size fits all.
Yes, there is nothing like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, crystal ball moment. This is the moment when I ask you, looking at your companies, looking at how you've repositioned yourselves, what do you project going 10, 15 years? What do you see nature care as? What do you see the farming business doing? What do you see the motivational speaking doing? How do you project going forward?
In Tsela, we always say we have reached the afternoons of our lives.
I never say it.
Some of us.
Yeah.
I see the farm as a sanctuary where people will occasionally, over the weekend, go there to do a mental detox and get rejuvenated and go and reposition themselves.
On a Monday, you live different. You come back. You go there on a Friday. You come back on a Monday, a different person.
Yes, yes.
What else?
And obviously, with nature care, one thing that I am thinking of doing is to create a satellite of nature care, you know, like a sort of a franchise, to say one can establish nature care in Francistown, the other person using the same model and spreading it all over.
Wow. Sounds like a very exciting future.
Yes.
All right. Here's your chance to ask me a question, Ms. Pila. Go ahead.
The question that I want to ask you, Mogobe, is that you are a very successful individual, relatively, in Botswana. What is it that you can say to encourage up and coming entrepreneurs, especially bearing in mind that Rome wasn't built overnight?
Yeah.
You rise, fall. What are the things that you came across? And
Yeah, I was talking to my group yesterday, and I referred to a speech by Martin Luther King Jr. in which he was talking about the drum major instinct. I'm saying that is a beautiful instinct to have, the whole idea of being a leader, but a leader not necessarily in the sense of a position. So I like the idea of being a drum major for the sort of things that I keep talking about. For inspiration, for instance, because I try to inspire youngsters. For empowerment, for instance, because even here we have youngsters that we are attached to us, that we are training. Even in the law firm upstairs, we have youngsters that we are training in terms of being pupils. So the idea is to continually do this that I've been doing, which is empowering others and to inspire others. And some of the things that I'm interested in, you've already covered during this conversation, which is to say the best way to be successful is to serve. So I want to continue to be a servant leader who is preoccupied with service, whether it's through this platform or whether it's through the vehicle of Angel Network Botswana, where we invest in young startups. I want to continually have this impact, whether it's through collaborations with people like you, with Tsela, which we've been together in for over 23 years. We've had this mozzelo, sophisticated mozzelo, where we invested together. So these are the things that I want to continue doing, but at a higher level, where there's greater impact. And one way of having this impact is through this platform, for instance. So I think that's what I would say to encourage them, that be a part of what we're doing. Join us on social media, be part of one of our organizations, whether it means supporting our restaurants or supporting the law firm or being part of us or inviting me to speak. I come and speak. Sometimes I don't even charge that much. You know, of course, I have to cover disbursements.
Yes.
So
yes.
that is what I'm about. But in the limited time you have now, it's your turn to look at that camera and to leave that person with a few empowering, inspirational words. I do hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And my closing statement actually would be to quote what Martin Luther King Jr. once said. When we talk about passion, doing the work you are born to do, to say, if you have been called to be a street sweeper, sweep the streets so well. Sweep the streets like Michelangelo painted art, like Beethoven composed music, like Razia Setlaku composed music. Do your work so well that the host of heaven and earth can pause and say, here lies a great street sweeper who did his work well. So let's stand up and be counted so that we can say we too have left a legacy. Thank you.
Wow. That is very powerful. Thank you so much. You've been a great guest.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.